What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and look, little bit of a news video, really, just a discussion points, a few little bits and bobs, and yeah, just wanting to really talk about Goodison, really, and all of the glory and what the exit could mean, if you get what I mean, how ending it could be. So Everton have applied to Liverpool City Council to extend essentially the drinking hours, for all intents and purposes, keeping the licence open, keeping the premises open, having a cut off at 11 o'clock, I think it was, which kind of makes sense if it's a Monday night game. But there is rumours that it could also be a Sunday night game. Now, people will want it to be televised. They'll want it to be shown. They'll want it to be broadcast across the world. I remember Upton Park. I think they played Man United. I think that was the last game. I think that was a Monday night, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that's fair in this particular occasion. Southampton are the away team. Travelling up on a Monday night is a bit of a killer. Also, on top of that, is the fact that even a Sunday is not necessarily fair to Southampton. But they're going to want this game to stand out from any of the other fixtures. And that's what's difficult about the timing of this game. If I was a betting man, I think it's going to end up being a Monday, which I don't think is right. But I just suspect it will be. Monday, 7:30, 7:45 kick-off, something like that. That's what I suspect. I don't agree with it, but that's what I suspect. And it will be interesting on what the club do as well. There'll be fireworks, no doubt, and there'll be lots of memory sharing and hopefully stories. But it'll be great to keep her open until real late evening. It'd be great to see her out for the fantastic establishment that she's been, the fantastic venue for World Cup semi-finals, the firsts for pretty much every single element of a stadium. Goodison Park is everything, and seeing her out in the right way is the right thing to do. But TV broadcasts, as always, get that little bit of they get to pick, don't they? And I completely disagree with it, but that is what happens. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in that front. John's been sending me some bits as well, and I felt like I wanted to touch on a couple of these things, but I don't want to over-go into it because I don't 100% believe all of this could happen. But Everton have also been linked with Delap today from Ipswich. And it apparently it's been quite a bold conversation that Everton have either had internally or Everton have actually had with Ipswich. But either way, Everton are keen to trigger the release clause that is in his contract at Ipswich, which is around £40 million. Now, Liam Delap has done really well this season. You can go into his goals and his stats and his figures all you want, but he looks a player. He's got great feet, he's young, he's technically gifted. He obviously come through the Man City Academy, so you've got to have a bit about you. And I suspect in terms of these, what he could offer Everton, he's future proof. In terms of if he improves, £40 million, great. If he doesn't improve and he just sort of stays at that level, then he's 22 years old and you're going to have loads of years of service. Now, you don't want him to get injuries and you don't want any of those problems, but I know it's a lot of money, but I don't necessarily think it's an absolute load of money for a player that has got Premier League experience. He's literally 22 years old. He's over 6 foot, has played every level of English football in terms of the England under 16s, 17, 18s. He's literally a few moments away from a call-up. He's scored, I think, 12 goals for Ipswich this season, which I think is his best season. So he's made it in that Premier League stats in that world. I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in Delap, and I think he's going to be one of these players that is linked with clubs like Arsenal, linked with clubs like Tottenham. So it's how bold Everton can be, and it's how aggressive Everton will be on wages and things like that. We don't want to start blowing money at signings, but we also do need to rebuild this team. the longer it looks like Calvert-Lewin may well have played his last game at Everton. We all have our opinions on Beto. We're not seeing enough of Chimiti. Ambrosia, John mentioned that he wouldn't mind seeing him on loan again next season. I'm sort of on the fence about that. So we're kind of there in thereabouts in those sort of players, but we're being linked with young players. We've been linked with a young lad from Liverpool. We've been linked with the young lad at West Brom. We've been linked with Liam Delap. These players are young, hungry, exciting players. In January and in the summer, we were linked with players like Ernest Junimar, players like that who have got this ability. And that's on top of the players that Everton could potentially look to, to go and sign from other Premier League teams on loan. Everton are in a bit of a weird position where clubs may not think Everton are going to go chasing the top 6, the top 8, the top 10, which could lead us to some good opportunities in the Premier League. When Everton signed Romelu Lukaku on loan from Chelsea, Everton were in a fairly good position, but I never expected Chelsea to loan out Lukaku. But I think if I remember, Chelsea had either just won the Champions League or something, and Everton were fighting for Europe. So Lukaku was that sort of signing. There's going to be players at these big 6 teams that need games, and I still think, and I know his injury record, but I still think there might be another twist in the tail with Richarlison. I really do. I have that feeling. So I think it's interesting. But look, if you was to say to me, look, you're going to sign Liam Delap, £40 million, I'd be happy with that signing. I think he's a good player, and I think he's got it, in my opinion. He's got that Premier League ability, he's got that quality, he's got that bit of class, bit of touch, bit of skill, and he can score good goals. So for me, I'd be all over that. Everton have also been linked with Merlin Rowe from Freiburg, 22 years old midfielder. One of the areas of our weakness, in my opinion, is midfield. James Garner has not blown me away. Ladrissa Garner guy is ageing. Mangala got injured. So then you're looking at Tim, who I didn't think had a good game this weekend, albeit I'm not writing him off because I do think there's a player there. But clearly we need talent in the middle of that park. We need a player that can pick the ball up, turn, go. We need a player that can tackle as much as Garner can. I think we need a player that can chip in with more goals. Everton are very reliant on centre forward scoring goals. I think we need more goals in this team. If you go back to Moyes' first time, we had Arteta who would chip in with, say, 6, 7, 8 goals a season. You even had centre-halves like Lescott who would chip in with goals. Tim Cahill would get 10 to 11 a season. And then there'd be the wingers, Pienaar, Morales. Several players would go and get a goal. Everton don't have that. Everton really don't have that, and that is one of the things that I think David Moyes will want to address. I don't think defensively we're as good under Moyes as we was under Dyche, and I know that sounds mad to say, but I just think we concede silly goals. I noticed a lot of people that were not happy with my comments around Tarkowski, and it's almost like people don't listen to me, because I said that I absolutely love him, and I think he's been great since signing for Everton. But I do think at times he can be rash. He can run into midfield, he can dive on the floor, sliding in. I'm not going to change that opinion just because it annoys people, but that's what I think. I think he does it, and I don't think you see it as much from Branthwaite and other players. So I'm interested to see how Everton strengthen that area as well. We've not, by all accounts, we've not been linked with any defenders today. We were linked with a defender yesterday. I can't remember his name, and I didn't put anything to it. So I'm not going to overly, fall asleep with that. The other thing I wanted to mention was Everton. So Everton have sent an email out this evening, basically saying that you can buy a piece of the turf. Now, I I don't like that. And the reason I don't like it is because there's rumours that there's a feasibility study into whether Everton or Goodison could host the ladies team. So they relay this pitch every 2 years anyway, every 2 or 3 years anyway. The pitch itself isn't special. Do you get what I mean? Like, I think if you were offering the season ticket holders who have been, the guys that have had their season tickets in their seats for years and years and years, the opportunity to buy their seat that they have sat on for years, I think that feels different. But I'm not overly fussed about this whole pitch thing. Like, I just don't think it's that big a deal. Offer me the tiles in the toilets. Like, the pitch is the one thing that does change. That piece of grass is the one thing that does change. So for me, it just doesn't have the same value as, the I don't know, the seats, the cladding, the tiles in the toilet, the whatever. It just doesn't have the same. It doesn't feel the same, the pitch, for me, in my opinion. But hey, we are where we are. And then the other thing that I just wanted to mention is about Carlos Alcaraz, or Charlie Alcaraz. For me now, I know Moyes is trying to keep his powder dry in terms of being obvious that he's going to want to sign him. But that can also destabilise a player by not knowing what's going on. For me, for £15 million, I think it is. I think it's a hell of a deal. I think he's a good player. I think he's comfortable. I think he's got a goal in him. He reminds me, maybe he's slightly more technical, but he does remind me a little bit of what I could imagine Cahill being like as a 22-year-old. I think he will score more goals. I think he's capable. For me, I think we sign him, and I think I almost would like it to just be: you've got these 8 games, we're keen to sign you, we like what we're seeing, blah 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 blah. Rather than not knowing what's going on with him, and not seeing him enough, and not seeing him starting games and things because of clauses. For me, Decore offers nothing now, and that's not a dig at Decore. He just doesn't. So for me, I think you've got to do something. So yeah, we'll see. So look, guys, I'm leaving it there. It was literally just a bit of a news video. There's not a great deal happening. I just want to give one shout out if I can. And look, this is not sponsored. This is absolutely nothing to do with the channel. But I bought something for my wife from a company called Albert Lyon, ABBOTTLYON, and their service has been absolutely fantastic. So I just wanted to chip in there and say they do jewellery and stuff. So if you think, maybe the wife deserves a new ring or necklace or something, just have a little look on there. They're not particularly expensive. They've been great. I sent them an email yesterday about an issue, and they literally fixed it within. Literally, they replied on a Sunday night, like half an hour later. I was stunned, but yeah, they've been really good. My wife's ring I got in the wrong size, so they're just changing it. Really, really good. So right, anyway, I'm leaving it there. A big shout out to Tom, one of my best friends. He's currently in the Maldives and sent me a video from the Maldives watching Blue Boys Network. I mean, that is incredible. So big shout out to Tom, who is enjoying his honeymoon with his beautiful wife Charlotte. So guys, look, I will leave it there. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you soon for another video, probably tomorrow. Peace.